Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Hi, everybody. Glad you could join us tonight. This is going to be a very special show because I've had our guest on a number of times on her books, Exoconsciousness Humans. And so being able to bring her back and get into some of her material is really a very exciting thing for me, because you can never dig deep enough into material like she has, that she presents. I have Rebecca Hardcastle Wright with me tonight, and she's a pioneering voice at the intersection of consciousness, contact, planetary ethics, and governance innovation. She's the founder of the first post-disclosure organization, the Institute for Exoconsciousness, and joint creator of the Planetary Constitution. Her initiatives are dedicated to empowering humanity to consciously co-create our planetary and multidimensional future. Her material is fascinating. It's an adventure. I highly recommend her books. Absolutely go and read her books. But when you listen to her, you're going to understand that she is coming from such a sincere, dedicated place that her material resonates so deeply to you that you're going to want to learn more and more and more, as I have. I mean, clearly she's back again. So I am so delighted to welcome her back to the show. Welcome again. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Barbara. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so glad that, I every now and then I go back over a lot of the shows that I've done, and I've thought, oh my God, that author had so much more to share, and we never got into it. And while you can do 2 and 3 hour interviews, not many people want to listen to 2. And I know what I was like in college. If it went beyond an hour, I was gone. I mean, my body may have been there, but my mind was, what do I have next? And so doing shorter interviews, but more interviews so that I can get material out there has been the latest new innovation to my show. That and the video. Clearly, I fought this for a gazillion years, and Blog Talk Radio had to go out of business in order for me to start doing video. So here we are.
You've left quite a lineage and a legacy in the radio, though. I have to.
Well, we were able to move over 1,100 shows from Blog Talk to Podbean. And so there are a lot of them there. And actually, there were a lot more, but I just moved the interview shows over. I figured nobody wants to hear me give readings over and over and over again. So the interview shows here, but we've started to do the readings again too. So who knows? We'll see. If there is a call for it, I certainly will answer the call. If there's not a call, I'll hang up the phone and I'll get on to something else.
That's exactly how I'm operating today.
It is weird.
It's very strange.
It's funny because I'm 81 now. So when I look back at what life used to be, it's so different. The family unit is so different. The way people grow and do their things. When I was young, I could be a secretary, a nurse, or there was
A
one other.
teacher.
I became a teacher or a
Yeah.
teacher, and those are my choices. Today, I mean, it's wide open.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
do it.
in a sense, I think.
Well, true,
Yeah.
but the potential is there.
Yes, the
You know,
potential definitely is there.
there are doors. You may have to plow them down, but they're there. They weren't there when I was in my early 20s, and so now I'm experiencing the fun of being able to do so many things that I probably wouldn't have done as well then, but I can't imagine building on that where I would be today if 60 years later or
Oh.
70 years later I had the background that I've got now.
Isn't
When
it interesting though? Just a thought aside, it just occurred to me, so I'll just kind of share it with you. So I do a lot of work with artificial intelligence and try to look at the realistic view of artificial intelligence. And it's really based on humans talking. It's not based on human thinking. It's based on human talking. So it's auto correcting our talking. And there's been such an explosion in talk via podcasts, via reels, via entertainment, talk radio, talk television shows. And all of a sudden, in comes AI built on talking. And you really have to wonder what is going to be the upshot of the talking.
I
Is the
discovered
talking going to stay
chatbots.
the same? Is the talking going to change?
Well, I discovered chatbots and was horrified at how good it is. And realizing that, wait a minute, though, there is something about what chatbots can spit out at you that does not have the vibrancy that someone who is writing has. And the difference is so glaring, it's unbelievable.
If you can see it.
Yes, yes. I know one of the authors that I have done a lot of his books is Charlie Pellegrino, and one of his books, Highway to Hell or
Something like that.
It's about Hiroshima. That book has so much life in it. It has so much energy in it. It has so much compassion in it. It is just so you get into it, and while you're reading horrifying things, you can't stop because it's inspired. That's what it is.
Inspired.
Artificial intelligence is not inspired. And you can tell the difference if you're really feeling what the words are saying. I've read some books where I wanted to just turn around and say to somebody, this person loves words. Look at how they're using them and feel, and usually there's nobody there. But it's kind of like the artificial intelligence writes beautifully, but it's not inspired. And you can feel it in many cases.
Right. That's the Eliza effect. They call that the Eliza effect. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just so let me get back to today, to what you're here for, because it's 5 or 6 years since. When did you write Exoconsciousness?
Oh, I think it was published in 2022.
Okay.
I just come back from being in Washington, D.C. and working with Edgar Mitchell for 6 years. And I got so much information dropped on me about artificial intelligence. As a mother and a grandmother, I was struck dumb. I couldn't believe it. I was just actually traumatized by all the information, because I knew then what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
You feel it coming, but you just can't put a finger on it. And when it happens, it's like, oh my goodness. So, for those that have not been fortunate enough to read your books, let's define exoconsciousness before we go any further.
Okay. Exoconsciousness is the innate, so all humans have it. It's the innate human ability to connect, communicate, and importantly, co-create with extraterrestrials, multidimensionals, and spiritual beings. So there's a lot of chatter today, especially on social media, about super experiencers, super contactees. And we are actually not in that clan because we believe all humans have it. And the minute you make it special, then it loses some of its authenticity and some of its genuine nature. And so we really believe that we're common, ordinary, exoconscious humans with psychic intelligence, and we take it that step further and say that we co-create with these forces outside the brain.
Yes. I think that, that in some ways, that's what I call channeling or bringing in information. It comes through me. It's a part of me, but it does come through me. And so that's that. And a lot of the material that I write, I do feel that that connection with something else. It's not something bad. It's just a higher level of intelligence. And, somebody said, well, you could be, it could be the devil. And I said, take that out of the mix. It's a higher level of awareness and consciousness. It has nothing to do with a biblical anything. It has to do with consciousness.
And it has to do with your consciousness in particular. Yeah, which is really the whole point of exoconsciousness, is that you're going to receive in a different, unique way, depending on why you came in, who you are. But I also want to add that, so there's three things that we emphasize a lot. And number one is, if you're having these psychic experiences, like you say, ideas come through you, or you see things, or you have this intuitive knowing, that we actually put a big emphasis on integrating that emotionally. So it's not traumatizing, it's not scary, it's not weird. It's something that we can integrate into our psyche. The second thing is using critical thinking. So it's fine to be intuitive. It's fine to have these, higher psychic abilities, but you also have to be discerning about it, and you have to think critically. So I would say, and discernment and critical thinking are very, very high on our values. And the third thing is, you have to do something with it. I think we've gone through this whole era of everybody has to tell their story. I think that's beautiful. I love it. I encourage that. But after you've told your story, after you've had your, social media moment, like, move on and do something with it. Write a book, have a show like you do, but bring in some kind of consciousness technology, do some artwork, heal people, do something with it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that I did the deck of cards that was, and those, I don't paint, but I did 500 paintings, and then I did this deck of cards, and then I stopped painting because that was the purpose of the whole thing. But you're right. There's a sense here of there's a purpose to every creative endeavor. And it needs to be explored and embraced and allowed to grow. And there's so many people that say they don't have time to be creative. And, my personal belief is that our spiritual journey, our journey through this lifetime, is fueled by creativity. Mm-hmm. So if you're stuck in place, it's because you're not being creative. And often it has to do with attaching yourself or connecting to or finding that portal to the other levels of consciousness that are out there and open to us, and even connection to extraterrestrials if that's appropriate for you.
If that's appropriate for you. And you, there's many people in our coaching groups. I mean, they see Mother Mary, they see Jesus, they see Buddha, they see these different spiritual beings, archangels. That's all part of it too. But I would also add that what you did by doing the paintings, the 500 paintings and the cards, was you took the creativity, you took the co-creation with it. And that's really what builds culture. And I think we're in a moment right now of, what's our culture? Like,
Yeah.
how do we define our culture? And part of that is because crafts and artwork and co-creations are really what builds culture.
Yeah. And there's so much going on out there that I worry about the generations that are growing up now, because a lot of them just don't seem to have the same inspiration in them that we did as we were, trying to grow up. The kids have the computers, they're gamers, they're locked into so many other influences that they don't have, in my opinion, the time to be creative within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is a sad thing. I don't know how to change it. I can grumble about it a lot, and I do, but it's sort of like finding that creativity inside of yourself is the link to such wonderful magic that it's unbelievable. And can I bend spoons? No, but I don't want to, because then I'd have to buy new spoons. But it's kind of like, but there's so much you can do with your mind. And I often say to people, they say we only use about 6 to 8% of our brain, and the rest of it is they call garbage, and it's not.
No.
It's there for a reason, and we can use it. We can electrify it. We can wake it up, and we can utilize that. It's a powerful tool. It's not a tool for conquest, but it is it's a tool for enlightenment. And and when you have that ability to know that there's more and more and more light out there, then your life has greater meaning.
I also think so. Just on a personal note, so my husband and I have a blended family of 8 children, and then we also have 15 grandchildren.
Wow.
So it's been interesting to watch the movement of AI into education and what that's done. And I live in Arizona, so I live in the Phoenix area. So here in Arizona, what it's accomplished is that it's really tipped over the whole basket of education, and homeschooling is a massive movement here. These mothers that are like, I'm homeschooling my children, and that's where those children are going to get that time to be creative. That's where that mother is going to step in. It's kind of like the mothers that got behind RFK and said, these vaccines need to be looked at. Those same mothers now are really getting into, they're actually closing public schools around me because
Wow.
there's so many charter schools and there's so much homeschooling going on.
Well, there was they had a kid on TV the other night who was just, the only schooling she had was AI. And they said, what's the benefit of this? And she said, well, if you're in a classroom, the teacher can only attend to one student at a time. Mm-hmm. And you have to go at the speed of the median of whatever that classroom is. With AI, you have 100% focus, and you can go as fast and as far as you want. And that made sense.
Well, it makes sense, except if you look at the reality of the information coming out of AI. So
yeah.
I was at a banquet the other day, and I sat next to a man, and he's a buy local businessman, and he worked for the Fed, so the Federal Reserve, okay? And he also worked in the Silicon Valley as a investment banker, did some in the investment world. And I said to him, oh, so AI has, I'm sure, really changed your work. And he said, well, yes and no. I hire less people. I can get these projects. Some used to take 20 people. Now they just take a handful of people. But he said, there's mistakes. And I said, so what percentage of mistakes are you looking at? And he said, well, right now it's 30, 33, 34% mistakes. And I said, well, as scaling happens, so scaling is adding new and more data to the system.
Yeah.
So as I said, as scaling happens, what are you predicting? And he goes, oh, we're going to go to 66% mistakes. So if you have this child being educated on AI, in the foreseeable future, they may be being taught by something that is making 66% mistakes.
It's a little frightening.
Not only that, but so I posted something on on X the other day, and I said AI is data laundering. So AI launders the data. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, they decide what they're going to push out and what they're not going to push out, and that sort of thing. How they're going to there's censorship. So they launder things, they censor them. AI censors that. AI also censors sex. AI censors sex. I mean, just this past week, Altman came out and said, "I'm not the sex police. You can have just full on erotica on AI. I'm not the sex police." So they're laundering the sexuality that we receive.
It's a little frightening.
Yeah, and AI launders money. So AI is laundering data, sex, and money. Who launders
AI?
The mob. That's what the mob does. The mob launders money.
What,
the mob launders sex. The mob launders games and gambling.
Yeah.
Like, to what extent has this become a mob faction or a mob mentality inside of, or organized crime is the nice word for it? Is that what AI has become? Are we living in an organized crime world? And if that's the truth, then we're looking at a world and a culture without laws, because organized crime does not follow laws.
No. I think the other thing that disturbs me, if I had a child today, aside from being a miracle, I would homeschool that child.
Yes.
But the only problem I see with homeschooling is that the sociability of working with groups of people and working with people that have handicaps that you should learn to understand and help. I mean, there's a great deal of sociability that is not with AI, so that you are.
I don't think that's really true anymore. The homeschool group circles that I've been exposed to, oftentimes they're religious, mothers in maybe like a Mormon church or whatever that get together and homeschool their children and do activities together and do projects together. Sometimes homeschoolers also band together and hire a teacher that works with the mother, and then different families all gather around this. So I think, and anyway, if you looked at statistically for autism, statistically, you're probably going to have an autistic child in your group.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just what is today. So I think that the mothers have really taken on education in this sense and really moved it forward with other kinds of possibilities for homeschooling. And also in Arizona, because we as a state grew so fast, we couldn't, the infrastructure wasn't there in the state to build the schools. And so we have what's called charter schools. So they're financed by the state, and they're basically oftentimes traditional curriculums, reading, writing, arithmetic, homework, some kind of values, very, very traditional. And that's who's reaping most of the education. Most of the children they either go homeschool or they go charter schools, and the public schools just cannot compete anymore. They've just lost the way.
Well, the public schools aren't worth anything anyhow these days. I mean, I was in the public school system for 25 years. I taught special ed, so I wasn't, I had the handicapped kids, and which was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
But it just, the public schools today, what they're teaching is a little horrifying. my next door neighbor has grandchildren that are being taught the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you know, they're arguing so many things. They're taking out of the curriculum so much that should be in there, at least in my opinion.
That's laundering data.
Yeah. Big time. Mm-hmm. So the changes that are going on there is why I would homeschool. I want to give somebody a foundation that they can take and work from and grow from. I mean, when I look at what I got in school and even in college, none of it am I using today. Everything I use today, I taught myself.
Yeah.
But maybe they gave me the tools to teach myself. You know, I'll give them that credit.
And gave you, I think a lot of education is maturing. You know, boys' brains don't really mature until they're like ready to graduate college, if they're lucky. So, I mean, it really kind of gives you that time to grow up and to learn while you're also, you know, socializing, growing up, academically learning.
Well, I think one of the things that should be included in school that I actually did with my kids was meditation, was working on reaching inside and developing a stability and maybe an ability to utilize some of the skills that were there. I mean, we didn't go that far, but they shut me down. It was, you know, not deemed appropriate. And I promised I would never do it again. And then I did. So, you know, it's kind of, we termed it something else.
Gave it a new name.
It was certainly, but, you know, I'm thinking, you know, people out there who have they have the feelings, the sensitivities, and they don't know what to do with them. And I think that organizations like yours, you know, can help people to actually find those talents and those gifts and understand that we were meant to reach into the cosmos. We were not meant to be just indigenous to this planet. We were meant to be more than we are. And that doesn't mean more money, more tools, more toys. It means consciousness. It's the consciousness inside of us that goes lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So that's what we are, you know, that's what we're meant to expand here. We're not here we're here to learn and to grow, certainly. But it's the spirit inside, the higher consciousness that is here to evolve. And that's what we should be focusing on as adults. You know, I'll get your college education behind you, get a career, but then realize that you've got more potential in you than you ever realized. So with your organization, with what you do you have classes for people to develop, to grow, to spread their wings, so to speak?
Well, mostly we've emphasized coaching groups. That's one of the things that we've, it just seemed like the first step would be the coaching to me. So I work as a therapist. That's my day job, is work as a therapist. But I felt that the coaching model was really the most adaptable to people with psychic intelligence, because they have such knowledge. They don't need therapy. They just need somebody to listen to them. They need somebody to listen to them, maybe ask a few questions, maybe direct the conversation. So I've got, I have at this point, I have one group that's very small, but they've become, I wish I had a better word for it, but they're sort of like a brain trust. So they're the people that have really taken it the next step and are co-creating and are moving into that type of higher level work with these abilities. And, you know, some are healers, some invent, you know, consciousness technology. You know, got together, we wrote the Planetary Constitution. Some heal people have healing technologies that they're bringing forth. They're writers, they're artists. And then on, I also have a monthly group that meets monthly and through the Substack, and with that group, we more talk about like this past monthly meeting, we talked about Avi Loeb and Three Eye Atlas and what did that mean. So we focus a lot of times on either what's really coming out in the, I guess, the world of ufology, and they're very, very intelligent and tuned into that. But we also talk about trauma. We talk about mind control techniques that are happening. We talk about entrainment technologies. So it's a very, very broad type of discussion. But I also do one-on-one coaching with people that just want to, kind of check in and like just kind of weigh where they are and where they're going. And then I also write a Substack. I write a weekly Substack every Friday that is just full of knowledge, but it's one of those, it's like appetizers. So knowledge appetizers on the cosmos, on science, on economics, on spirituality. And I just spend the week before I write it, just collecting this whole array of knowledge. And then I publish it, and people really seem to like it. They know Friday it's coming. And then I also write Substack articles. Like I just recently did an article on Peter Thiel, the Palantir Peter Thiel.
Yep.
Yeah, I just did a thing on because he was going in San Francisco. Well, he's actually been doing it other places, but in San Francisco, he was doing the Antichrist lectures. And so, and having a theological background, I kind of took that apart and talked about what that meant and who Peter Thiel was. So I do education via Substack. And
you teased me with that. What did Peter Thiel mean by the Antichrist, and who is the Antichrist? Who is the Antichrist?
Well, the Antichrist is really, he defines the Antichrist as anyone who puts regulations or barriers against the advancement of technology.
Interesting. I know we mentioned Gary Wayne before we came on, and he's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
And he was talking about Antichrist at one point, and I said to him, you're talking about he. Did it ever occur to you that the Antichrist might be a woman? And I stopped him dead cold. He said, well, I said, come on. And he said, well, he backed up a lot, but he said, could be.
Well, theologically, actually, the Antichrist is kind of an ongoing thing. If you really take apart the scriptures of it, it's the Antichrists are a phenomenon of humans that, comes in all the time. There's been many, many Antichrists. It's not just one person. People get all caught up in Revelation and, the end times. But that's not really what was meant by it at all. It's more like a force.
Well, Antichrist is against Christ.
It could be. It could have multiple manifestations. It's interesting to me that Peter Thiel demonizing anybody that would ask for guardrails or regulations or common sense around AI would be labeled demonic. You're Antichrist, you're demonic. And, people just, pay this money and think they're going to these exclusive lectures. And he's just twisting ancient biblical theological knowledge for his own ends. But in the Substack, anyway, I went into like this whole history and what all he's been involved in all these years. And he really came in with the Bush administration. So he's been, and then when Obama came in, Obama was the one that took Palantir and really shot it off like a rocket and said, we want you to go and collect databases on all of the terrorists and all of the immigrants. So Obama really, he gave liftoff to that. And when I was living in DC during the Obama administration, and the few people I knew in the CIA and intelligence areas, boy, Palantir was the ticket. That was your next career path, was to go to Palantir, not to go to the CIA, but to go to the Palantir.
Well, it's, to me, it's a thought form. It's not a person.
It's an egregore.
Egregore, yes. I love that term.
I love that term too.
So we'll leave that poor man alone. And
well, it's a thought form, and yet it isn't, because he was very, very involved in all of the startups in the Silicon Valley, and very involved in different things with Musk and all of the kind of the elite of Silicon Valley and technology. And he was tasked with building these massive databases. I mean, it's an egregore, but it's also a reality that these exist now, and they're the next step to that, quite frankly, that nobody likes to talk about. But when I was writing my book, I came across this thing called the Sentient World Simulation.
Yeah.
They call it SWS. And it's out of Purdue University, and it's been around for decades. And they were tasked with building the avatars for everyone.
Oh my gosh.
So now, DARPA's in on it now. All that, they have their avatar program. So what's going to happen, Barbara, is the data that Teal is collecting on profiling, on whatever database that they're running on people, and as well as the medical community. So your medical community database is also in there. So that's all going to be transferred to your avatar. And that's going to be your repository for all of the medical diagnosis, all of the law enforcement programming, all of the commercial advertising programming. All that's going to be lodged in that avatar then. And that will be your replica. That will then, that digital identity. So that also involves, digital IDs, central bank, all the banking will be there also. So that will really become your ruler in a sense. So you will be a slave to that.
But
digital.
As we sit here now, our bodies are an avatar for a spirit that travels.
Absolutely. And that's what this is replacing.
Well, I have
or attempting to replace.
Yeah, I was going to say, because once that spirit decides to take off and find another avatar, so to speak, on another dimension in another planet,
good
or whatever.
Luck.
I mean, it gives you there's an emptiness there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I knew in 2017 that the technocrats or this AI coming in, I knew that they had to try to have everything. They had to try to have our spirit. And now there's things coming out about religion, taking over religion, and they have to have everything.
Well, they're trying to combine them. They've got that it's near Dubai, or Abu Dhabi. They're trying to combine religions, and that doesn't make sense to me. But so how? See, the thing is, we are eternal, but we're also in a physical body, and it's the physical people that are crazy. To my mind, this is not the all that there is. This is only a moment in, a speck in the evolution of a spirit that is going to, sit back and look afterwards and say, thank God I got out of there in time. Because it's kind of like trying to imprison us.
Oh yeah, it's the control grid. That's what Catherine Austin Fitz calls it. But it's interesting because the anthroposophist Rudolf Steiner, he pretty much, the man that never had a footnote, by the way, never knew what a footnote was, but Rudolf Steiner claimed that was the whole eighth sphere, was that our souls would be captured in eternity in this eighth sphere, and we would just keep reincarnating in this technological eighth sphere. And so that would become our eternal life, would be this prepackaged. I mean, he was a true believer in that. And I don't know that I'm, if I look at the reality of AI and moving towards 66% mistakes, chances are it's not going to work.
I would say, I mean,
It's a huge chance it's not going to work.
The thought that my spirit, when it decides to take off, would turn around and say, oh, let me go back and, jump in that whatever. And, there's no creativity. There's no inspiration. There's no insight. There's all of
no
the
curiosity.
All the things that make you an exoconsciousness human being are gone. So you have something that is dead.
Somebody the other day said that AI was the digital Ouija board. It's become the digital Ouija board. I thought that was pretty good. Once again, they have to capture everything. I mean, it's this utter egotistical flight into something that it's 90% propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, if MIT comes out and says that, looking over the past year at corporations that have used AI, and 93% of the corporations found it not effective of the people that they surveyed. I mean, and yet I think it's a combination of the mob mentality, and maybe the mob's involved in it. I don't know. But I think it's a combination of that. I think it's a combination of propaganda and entrainment, mental entrainment. And it's the biggest psyop since 9/11.
What gets me is everybody has a spirit in them.
Yeah.
So with that knowledge, how can they think they can control others unless they make others think that they don't have?
Well, that's all they have to do. They have to convince us that, I mean, that goes back to something that I talked about in a post that I made on my Substack. So during the Cold War, we had two enemies. So, I mean, one enemy, it was United States versus Soviet Union. And then when the Cold War ended, the wall came down, we had a multipolar enemies. And all of a sudden, the military is like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle multipolar enemies? And they moved into this way of thinking called VUCA, VUCA, came out of the Army War College. So they set up this culture around humans that there's volatility everywhere. In other words, the Earth's going to end any minute. We're going to go to the mini ice age, and we need to dim the sun, and in any minute everything's going to collapse. The market's going to collapse. Everything's going to collapse. Human life's going to collapse. So volatility, uncertainty, like convincing people that they don't know what to do. Well, humans know what to do, but if enough people get convinced that they're uncertain, they don't know what to do. Complexity, they make artificial complexity all the time. Things that you and I know are simple, all of a sudden on social media, they're like these big complex ideas. It's like, what are you talking about? This is really simple, but they convinced us of that. And then ambiguous is like, oh, I don't know. That's really ambiguous. I don't know if I can make a decision about it. It's very unclear. It's very cloudy. Like, no, it's not. It's not cloudy.
Yeah.
It's not confusing. It's not complex. But they overlaid that on humans. And then I'm sure people that on your show have talked about Giordano from the Army War College, and the brain is the battlefield.
Oh God.
There we have it.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying what is being done, that people don't take the time to look at and understand what's going on and do something about. And it bothers me greatly that even like with the Montauk Project, there were children missing in that area, and they were being experimented on, and nobody did anything. And MK Ultra is still out there, and doing their thing. And when they were telling how many children were unaccounted for that had come across the border, it horrified me.
And no one cared.
No, and it's sort of like it was almost like a bonanza for some of these organizations. It was like, grab all you can and
get those government contracts.
Yeah.
Religions, the Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church were the primary groups that were complicit in all that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely complicit in it. And it will never be called accountability.
Well, look at World War II, what the Catholic Church did. Mm-hmm. I mean, sorry, don't mean to offend anybody, but the people in power were really crooks. Mm-hmm. But I just, there's so much going on that this show, I really want people to pay attention to what's going on. I want people to do some research, to look into some of your material, because it's profound. I was kind of fascinated with how you what role do you think people with exoconsciousness, with psychic ability, I don't believe that our spacefaring future is space. I don't think it's space. I think it's dimensional. Mm-hmm. But that's just me.
Well, I think it's both. I think the multidimensional abilities of exoconscious humans are what will be an essential component of space. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just, the thought of being in a tin can for a number of years going someplace doesn't make sense to me. If extraterrestrials are thousands of years ahead of us, they have to improve their mode of transportation.
Yeah. Every time I see one of Elon Musk's chemical rockets take off, I just really?
Waste of money.
But on the other hand, if you're like Robert Bigelow, who's really big in the field of ufology. So he creates these collapsible objects that could be something that you could live in or use for work that could be that collapse, and you can put them in a spaceship, and then you could put them on Mars, or you can put them on the moon or whatever. So, and space is also, space is about occupation, but space is also about money. Remember when they were talking about how big the debt was, and then they came out and they said, "Oh, if we lasso this asteroid, and the asteroid equaled the debt." So it's a lot of it is, there's a lot of funny business. I know the other day I got so tickled when Avi Loeb's 3-Eye Atlas information came out, and as it came out, it showed the 3-Eye Atlas and had these 4 green streaks. I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I don't.
And I went, well, that's like a Monster drink ad. That's Monster drink green. And I remembered when I worked for Dr. Mitchell, I had the privilege of spending the day with the mathematician that ran the Hubble Space Telescope.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful, lovely, lovely man. And I'll never forget, we were downstairs having coffee or whatever, and then we came upstairs and we were walking through back to his office, and we walked by this array of, those metal those metal library shelves.
Yeah.
That were very inexpensive, but they put them in a lot of schools.
Yeah.
So we're walking through there, and for some reason, now this was like 2000, I don't know, probably 14. Okay. And there was a man sitting at the back of one of those aisles. So there are like 10 or 12 aisles of books in these library shelves. And he was sitting at the back of one of these aisles. And his name was Mario Livio. I said, "Mario, what's that man back there doing?" He's kind of all by himself. There weren't very many people around anyway. And it just kind of like niggled me a little bit. He goes, oh, he's colorizing space.
Okay.
And I said, he's colorizing space? And he said, oh, yeah, because the feeds come in kind of gray and black and really don't have any color. And so we put color on them. And remember looking at all the pictures of the star being born, pinks and blues and greens and yellows. And
Oh, yeah.
this guy at that computer was colorizing all that stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
And so when I saw Avi Loeb's 3 Monster Drink green streaks, I'm like, oh, for goodness sakes. It's Monster Drink green. You know, Monster Drinks have like these three or four green streaks on them.
Yeah.
Or it's alien green. But of course it's green. You know, it's like, what's going on here? I mean, this is the biggest
Yeah, scary.
colorizing space.
Well, that's so sad. You know, you kind of would like to think.
You have to have a sense of humor, I think, because
Definitely. That's horrifying.
yeah.
I mean, on top of that, they're also erasing other things that people are finding on Google Earth and the Google Moon and the Google Mars thing.
Oh, absolutely.
They erase them. I mean, it's like, why are you holding us back?
Yeah.
What's the point of holding us back?
Yeah.
I mean, I will grant you that we are rather barbaric and we need to be. I mean, I don't think the Earth has ever been without a battlefield someplace, but some of it may be out of frustration because we are being held back. And on some level, I think everybody feels it, like we should be out there. We should be a part of there's a brotherhood. There are brotherhoods, I think is a better way to put it. And there's stuff out there that would be so beneficial to our planet. It's unbelievable. And yet the planet is resisting it. And it's a little frightening. I mean, you see the space program, which is a joke and a waste of money. Why not work on what
did you see that the head of Department of Transportation wants to move NASA into the Department of Transportation? Yeah.
Okay. How stupid can some of these people be? I mean,
well, I think it's been a cash cow. Let's face it. Makes a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people.
And it's also a wonderful diversion for people.
But what are they afraid of?
I don't think they're afraid. I think they're making money and controlling things. I don't think they're afraid at all.
But they could take their power and turn it around to a far better.
I don't think they're interested.
How sad.
Yeah, I don't think they have any interest at all in that. I mean, if you look at, when I saw the colorizing space, I knew right then and there that this was all like a mind control, like a mind game.
Yeah.
For humans. And, people push back on me and say, well, all of those have different frequencies and they're just adding the color to the frequency. I'm like, no, they're not.
No, that's baloney.
They're a lot bigger than that. And having worked with Edgar and, tapped in a little bit into the space program. And I mean, it's a big economic engine. It is. Yeah.
It's a race.
It's superpower.
But what are they racing for or to? Because they don't understand what's out there. I mean, they're stumbling into a neighborhood where they're probably not welcome.
That's really why we wrote the Planetary Constitution, and we just celebrate the first anniversary of it, because we really believe that the humans have rights and responsibilities in this whole endeavor, and all of the, high level secrecy and all of the manipulation that, that we need to cut through that. I think really for now, for 2025, I think the best thing humans can do is lay down some guardrails. And that's really what we were trying to do with the Planetary Constitution. Lay down a guardrail and say, we have human rights in space. Space belongs to humans. One of the things that happened to NASA was that, and I know you remember this. So, back in the 60s and the 70s, when the Apollo missions were going off, people were really excited about space.
Yeah.
Remember that? People wanted to be astronauts. They wanted to go to space camp. NASA created a real groundswell of science and curiosity and exploration, and then nothing. Everything went secret. Everything went into secret agreements, secret contracts, compartmentalization. And I guess another reason that we wrote the Planetary Constitution is because NASA at some point is going to have, or whoever, Lockheed Martin, whoever's doing it, they're going to have to bring back some kind of human engagement with what's happening, or the programs just become meaningless. There is no human engagement. There is no curiosity. There is no real pull to go into the cosmos. And so I think it really starts with humans, and we have to, stand up and demand that we have that. And then there's the second level of, I've been working some with Carol Rosin that wrote the Treaty for Prevention of Placements of Weapons in Space. Are you familiar with that?
Vaguely.
Yeah. So she worked with Werner von Braun and did the testimony of, how they were going to have perpetual war on Earth, what they were going to use to do it. And, first it was the Cold War, and then terrorists, and then nations of concern, and then asteroids, i.e. a 3-eye atlas. And then the final was extraterrestrial invasion. So she got together with a group of very, very influential world leaders and created this treaty for the prevention of placements of weapons in space. So don't place them there. Don't place the weapons in space. And now today, we're on the cusp of building a golden dome, building a whole dome of all of these different, autonomous vehicles, many of them driven by AI, which may or may not work, like your autonomous cars. So is that going to work, or is that going to not work? And it's all about, you have to have an enemy to fight. So you have to have a weapon. So then you have to have an enemy. Who's the enemy? The enemy is extraterrestrials. And it's very interesting. I just want to bring it to the awareness of your group. So I looked a lot into Avi Loeb, like what's his background? Because he's the only voice. There's tens of thousands of astrophysicists out there. He's the only voice. He's the only one being heard. So they shut everybody else up. And everybody's compliant. Everybody wants to keep their contracts. And I looked at what his background was, and he came out of this program in the Israeli military called the Talpoit, Talpoit. And it's part of kind of a high-level military, Mossad, intel organization. Are you familiar with the Jason Group here in America?
Vaguely.
Okay. So the Jason Group in America is, you can go to college and study this. Say you want to be a physicist, and you study this given curriculum. Well, if you get picked by the Jason Group, you study a whole completely different curriculum. So it's a tracking. So they only select people that are educated and controlled into this knowledge. And so in Israel, Avi Loeb was educated and controlled in this knowledge. So during the time that he's in the Talpoit program, he also gets his PhD in plasma science. Plasma science. We'll come back. We can circle back to plasma later, because that's a huge key. But He also was working on Ronald Reagan's SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, placement of weapons in space. Avi Loeb was working on that.
Wow.
And then he finishes, that's a 9-year program. So he finishes his program. He comes over, he goes to Princeton for a while, and he ends up at Harvard in 1988. My opinion of Harvard is it's kind of like USAID. It's a CIA cutout school.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could cite, Charles Murray that ran the MK Ultra program. He ran the psychology department and psychology clinic at Harvard. I mean, that's just for starts. And so all of a sudden now, he's been plucked to be the spokesperson for this. And, you have to wonder, there's so much agitation in the United States today about, Gaza and Israel's war. Well, he's a citizen of both the United States and Israel. He may work for the Mossad. I don't know. I don't know what this program is. All I know is, that he is bringing this in, and he's bringing this in narrative in that this 3-eye atlas, and that it's an alien technology. 30-40% chance it's ET alien, and the ufology community is going wild about it. And nobody asked the first question about who is this guy. I mean, these channelers are like, I'm channeling 3-eye atlas.
Good Lord.
Like, no, you're not. You're channeling the CIA or Mossad, probably.
It's definitely.
I mean, it's gone to exaggerated extremes, but according to Carol Rawson, it had to. So going back to Carol's treaty for prevention of placement of weapons in space, China signs it, USSR signs it, Brazil signs it, other countries sign it. Guess who doesn't sign it?
US.
Yeah.
Very. It's. I think people really need to check out your website. And really, 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 really need to check out the website. And so the website is, wait a minute. I'm trying to find out where it is. Is it exoconsciousness.com?
Yeah. That's my main website now.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
There's a contact link there.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to do this again. I mean, I'm sure you've got other outlets that you can go to and spread information from, but I would imagine my audience is going to sit back and suddenly be checking out your website for sure.
We just had I just sent an email out for our monthly coaching. So I only charge like $8 a month, just like to help. We have like a YouTube guy that helps. And so we just charge $8 a month. And I tell you, we just had a discussion on Avi Loeb and 3-eye atlas, and it was amazing. And I had shared a lot of that information that I just shared with you on that, on the email that I sent out.
I'm going to have to get a hold of you. We're going to have to figure out another time I can get you back here to get into more of this stuff, because it has to get out there. And, I've only got, I don't know, 3,500, 3,600 people that are.
It's pretty big, Barbara.
Oh, well, yeah. I have no concept of what's big and what's not.
That's big.
When I got to 1,000, I stopped counting. But yeah, I think that it's important that people become more and more aware of this, and also understand the power that they have to combat it.
That's the plasma key.
Yeah.
That's the plasma key.
And that's where I want to kind of help people understand the power that they have inside of themselves and what they can do to sort of expand themselves into a whole new, I call it a magical realm. And it is, because, you know, when you let go of Earth and you have the potential of everything that's out there, it's amazing. But, and I'm not saying dying, I'm just saying on a consciousness level, traveling and allowing yourself to be inspired. And it's exciting and it's wonderful and it's magical. And frankly, it's kept me a lot more vibrant than I might have been had I not had a podcast and been looking for material like this.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, I know my mother at my age was crocheting and watching TV, watching baseball on TV, and that was her day. And, you know, I do crochet still, but, you know, but I have all this, and it makes you more alive. And it gives you a better understanding of the potential of the human spirit. And, you know, it doesn't have to be religiously. It's just the potential, the spiritual energy that's here is just magnificent. So I want to thank you. You know, we've gone overboard a little bit, but, and will you come back again?
Sure, I'd love to. Be fun.
Absolutely. I will be.
We didn't get to talk about psionics yet, so but to come
I
back.
know. I want to get into that now that I know how to say it. I'll have to do a whole show on that.
Psychic, psionics, electronics.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. We will definitely have to talk about that. I want to thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much, Barbara.
Oh, this has been fun. I'm going to put you in the green room and put the thank you for watching us sign on.
Okay.